Okay, so what we're going to do is our last slide to take care of in anatomy and physiology, which is the kidney. There's only one slide for this, so it makes it a little bit easier. Although I have two versions of it, only because the dyes might show a little bit different staining. But well, I'll show you that. But it's the same. It's only one organ. All right, so this is the kidney, okay? And to tell you the truth, the SET40X, I wouldn't expect anyone to really pick on that to figure out what that is. So you got to get up closer to it. So let's go up to at least 100X, okay? And what you got over here, you might start recognizing a few things. Let me see if I can get something over here. So you could probably see the glomeruli scattered all over here. I gotta get closer to really see it. But what you're looking at is this is a glomerulus over here, a glomerulus over here, a glomerulus over here. You see them scattered all over. So we got to get up closer for you to really appreciate what's going on. But when you look at the microscopes individually, you should be able to pick that up at 100x. But let's look at 400x. We're going to see things go a little bit more better. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Just bear with me because I want to find pretty classic ones so that you can understand what's going on here. And I would do the same thing for your practical exam. I want to give you something that you may think I did something, but no, I'm going to pick some pretty classic ones. So I'm not here to trick anybody. Pick the non-classic ones. You got to take a whole course in histology, which I have. It was a 400 level class. But let's see. Come on. Oh, this is okay. Okay. So what we got over here, a glomerulus over here, a glomerulus over here. Now the way I would say it, it's kind of like a bag of grapes, or let's say a cluster of grapes. It's attached one place and then it's just dangling out there. Does that make sense? Can you see that? And that's what I see over here. It's like it's attached here, but then it's dangling out here. It's attached here, but then it's dangling out there. Do you see what I'm saying? Now that to me is more classic. But you don't have to. But the thing is, that's the glomerulus made of capillaries. Okay? What is this whitish area called? That's Bowman's space, also known as urinary space. Okay? Then we also have a very thin lining over here all the way around. And if you get up close, you'll be able to see the simple squamous epithelium. This is the Bowman's capsule, at least the lining of the Bowman's capsule. Okay? So from here to here, not including the white, that's the glomerulus. But then what is it from here all the way to here, including the white areas? When we're adding the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, then we refer to it as the renal corpuscle. Okay, so the renal corpuscle is the Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus together. We just refer to it as the renal corpuscle. Okay. Let me see if we could see some other things over here. Okay. I'll show you the other side. That's right, the other side might show better. Oh, here's a good one. You have two different tubes here. there's a cross-section of tubes, and you see many tubes here. Remember, you got a million of these nephrons in each kidney, so there's a lot there. We're cutting through a lot of cross-sections of all the tubules. That's why you're seeing all these circles around here. Well, we got one cross-section here, and we got one cross-section over here. See that? And one of them has a little bit more gunk in it. There's a medical term for you, gunk. Now, one of them doesn't. What is that with all the gunk in it? In other words, what tube is that? Well, let me just tell you. This is the proximal convoluted tubule. This is the distal convoluted tubule. It's a cross-section of it. What is that gunk? It's not electrolytes. You can't see it. It's not water. Water, you can see right through it. So what is that? What would you expect the proximal convoluted tubule have more of than the distal convoluted tubule? What's the function of the proximal convoluted tubule? Absorption. But how much? 65%. Most absorption. So what do you need when you have absorption? Yeah, you need microvilli. There's tons, that's what you're looking at. You see tons of microvilli over here. You don't see any over here. Now there are some there because there is some sodium and water that's going to be absorbed, but not the amount that you're going to see in the proximal convoluted tubule. So on a practical exam, I would say, what is this, not this? I like to give you so you can compare the two. Okay? So what is this, not this? That's a DCT. Okay? Or a distal convoluted tubule. Okay? See how you do that? All right. Let me just show you the next slide. It's the same thing. And I wouldn't ask you about collecting ducts. They're hard to determine over here. Same thing with a loops of Henle. You should be able to identify a glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule, renal corpuscle. Okay. But let me show you the other slide that I have. It might depict things a little bit better for you. Give it a moment, and you'll see it'll be a little bit better. Again, that's at 40x. I don't expect the people to see things, although you might see little circles there, and yes, you're right, that is the glomeruli. Let's get up closer. This is at 100x. See the glomeruli there, that should be pretty easy to see. Let's get up to 400x. So, all right, so let me show you what's going on here. All right, you obviously can see the glomerulus, okay? Can you visualize it dangling? It's attached someplace over here and it's dangling out there. All right, can you see that? Then, if you can, then what would be in this area here if this is where it's attached? You can't see the afferent or efferent arteriole, at least at your level of school. You're not going to be able to tell the difference there. But afferent and efferent are coming this way, is what I'm trying to say, which means that this is where your glomerulus is. 180 degrees on the other side, what should be located in this area here? What part of the nephron? Proximal convoluted tubule, right? That's what's going to happen here. It's going to enter it. This is Bowman's capsule and a proximal convoluted tubule. Okay? So look what this is. If I say, what is this, not this? You see the difference? Okay? The way I'm pointing them out to you. What is this? See, inside the lumen, it's got a lot of gunk in it. But this one over here doesn't have much gunk. Right. This is a proximal convoluted tubule. This is a distal convoluted tubule. I could say, what's the function of this, not this? What's the function of this? absorption. But that would be wrong. Yeah. Because what happens in the loop of Henle? Does absorption happen there? Mm-hmm. What about in distal convoluted tubular? Does absorption happen there? Yeah. What about the collecting duct? Yeah, absorption's happening everywhere in the nephron. So you found kind of like a loophole, no pun intended. But you found like a loophole to say, hey, look, I could just say absorption is in all areas. So what makes absorption special in the proximal convoluted tubule? How much does it get absorbed? You could say 65% reabsorption. I'll take that as an answer. You put down reabsorption just itself is wrong because it's too vague. How much? If you say 100%, or if you say, if you say 65% of reabsorption happens here, you got it right. If you say most reabsorption, I'll buy that too. If you want to say 100% of glucose reabsorption, that's fine too. If you want to say 100% of amino acid reabsorption, that's fine as well. Okay? So you got to be precise about that. I might say, what hormone mostly targets this, not this? What hormone mostly targets this? Yeah, aldosterone. Okay? I mean, some ADH goes there, but when I say mostly, sure, then aldosterone is the answer. Okay? One other thing I could ask is, what can be secreted, what hormone or enzyme could be mainly secreted from this area, this general area here? Knowing that the efferent and afferent are entering here, and the PCT, or the proximal convoluted tubule, will be over here. What hormone / enzyme could be secreted from this general area here? Renin. The juxtaglomerular apparatus is going to be somewhere in this area, but what I wouldn't ask you to define for me in these slides. It's pretty difficult to see. But if you could understand the orientation of this, then yeah, renin gets secreted from this area here, specifically the JG cells, or the juxtaglomerular cells. Okay? So that's the kidney. And there's only one slide there. I put two slides on because, like you can see, the stain is a little bit different, and it might make things a little bit better. Okay? Questions on that?